Hello students, I welcome you all to this civics class for chapter 5th, the Union Executive. In this chapter you will study about the executive, president, the head of the state, vice president, Union Council of Ministers, the executive. Every government has three organs: legislature, executive and judiciary. Executive is that organ of the government which enforces laws made by the legislature, executes them and runs the administration of the country. President, the head of the state. In order to run a government, we need a group of people called the executives. It comprises the president, the prime minister and the council of ministers, both at the center and in the states. There is an official head and real head comprising different categories of minister. That means there are two types of executive, the nominal executive and the real executive. India is a republic. That means the head of the Indian state is an elected president. She is vested with all the executive powers, but they are all exercised by the Union Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. Therefore, the real executive is the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, whereas the President is the nominal executive because he or she is bound to act on the advice of the Council of Ministers. If the President does not wish to accept any advice, she may refer it back to the Council of Ministers. But if the same advice is sent back again, the President is bound to accept it. Do you know, the President is called head of the state, whereas the Prime Minister is called head of the government. In the previous class, have we read that the executive at the state level comprises the governor, the chief minister and the Council of Ministers. Similarly, the Union Executive at the national level comprises the President, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. The President's election. The President of India is elected by an electoral college consisting of the elected members of both the houses of parliament and the elected members of legislative assemblies. He or she is indirectly elected. Nominated members of any house do not participate in the election of the President. The election is held in accordance with the single transferable vote system of proportional representation. Under this system, it is essential to secure the fixed quota of votes to get elected. Qualifications of the President. A candidate for the office of the President of India must be a citizen of India who has completed 35 years of age. She should be qualified to be a member of the Lok Sabha and should not hold any office of profit under the government at any level. Tenure. The President of India holds the office for a 5-year term and can be re-elected. She can resign by giving a letter to the Vice President who will convey the news to the Speaker of Lok Sabha. He can also be removed by the process of impeachment. If a President violates the Constitution, she can be removed from office by resolution of impeachment, which is passed by both the houses of Parliament by 2/3 majority of the total membership. Succession of the President. In case the office of the President falls vacant due to her resignation, death or impeachment, the Vice President of India takes over the responsibility to officiate as President till the new President is elected. Election must be held within 6 months to fill up the office of the President. This is the picture of Rashtrapati Bhavan, which is a residence of the President. If the office of the Vice President also falls vacant, when there is an already existing vacancy at the President's office, then the Chief Justice of India takes over as officiating President of India till the new President is elected. Do you know? The method of election of the President is unique and novel. The number of votes of the members of the Parliament are equal to the number of votes of all the members of Parliament are equal to the number of votes of all the MLAs of the states put together. This is the formula which is used for the election of the President. Value of vote each MLA of a state assembly has. Total population of the state divided by 1000 divided by number of elected members of a state assembly. Now the value of vote of every elected MP. Total number of votes of all the elected MLAs of the state assemblies divided by number of elected MPs of both the houses. The election of the President is held by single transferable vote system of the proportional representation. Each voter is expected to indicate his/her preference on the ballot paper. If the candidate of voters' first choice is not getting elected, his votes may be transferred to his/her second choice, and so on till a candidate is declared elected. A candidate, in order to be elected as president, has to secure quota, that is, an absolute majority of votes cast according to the following formula. Quota is equals to total number of valid votes plus 1 divided by 2. Of all the presidential election held so far, the second preference votes were taken into consideration only once, and that was in the case of Mr. V.V. Giri in 1969. The MPs can cast their votes in the state capital only. Emoluments and immunities. The President of India draws a monthly salary of rupees 1,50,000 and some allowances. He/she is entitled to the free furnished residence. His/her official residence is the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. Any president who retires or resigns is entitled to pension of rupees 3 lakh per year throughout life. Besides, he/she gets a free residence, establishment charges up to rupees 12,000 a year, and free medical treatment. Powers and functions of the President. The President has executive, legislative, judicial, financial and emergency powers. He addresses the first session of the Parliament after the election is over. He can dissolve the Lok Sabha and calls for a joint session of houses of the Parliament in case of a deadlock between them. A bill becomes a law only after his assent. He issues ordinances when Parliament is not in session. Executive powers. All decisions are carried out in the name of the President. He/she must be kept informed of all the decisions of the Cabinet by the Prime Minister. The President may also call for information from various departments of the government. He/she is the Supreme Commander of the Defence Forces. The President receives the ambassadors and diplomatic personnel of foreign countries as well. All important appointments are done by the President. He/she appoints the Prime Minister and other ministers of the Council of Ministers on the advice of Prime Minister. He/she appoints the Governor of the States, the Attorney General of India, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, the Chairman and the members of Union Public Service Commission, the Chief Election Commissioner, Chief Justice of Supreme Court. He/she also appoints the ambassadors and diplomatic personnel to foreign countries. Judicial powers. All the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts, including the Chief Justices, are appointed by the President. On appeal for mercy, the President has the power to reduce the sentence or grant pardon or amnesty. He/she can change the death sentence or can postpone it also. Emergency powers. In case of the extraordinary situation in the country or in one or more states, the President has been entrusted with certain emergency powers. This can happen in 3 situations. First, national emergency. If the security of the country is threatened by war or external aggression or internal armed rebellion, the President can declare a state of emergency for the whole country. Second, breakdown of constitutional machinery in a state. If the government of a state is not being run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, the President can declare emergency in that state. This is also called imposition of President's rule in a state. Third, financial emergency. When the financial stability of a country is threatened, the President can declare a state of financial emergency. The emergency power of the President is not absolute. He/she can declare a state of emergency only on the written advice of the Council of Ministers. Although the position of the President of India is just nominal, the Constitution recognizes his/her position as one of the authority and prestige. The Vice President of India. The Vice President of India, Uprashtrapati, is elected for a period of 5 years by the members of both the houses of Parliament by single transferable vote system of proportional representation. The Vice President is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. He/she performs the same function in Rajya Sabha as the Speaker of Lok Sabha does. Since the Vice President is not a member of Rajya Sabha, he/she does not participate in voting in the House. However, in case of a tie, he/she can exercise his casting vote. Whenever the office of the President falls vacant due to the death, resignation or impeachment, the Vice President takes over as the officiating President till a fresh election is held. The new President must be elected within 6 months. As officiating President, the Vice President is entitled to all the powers, privileges and emoluments due to the President of India. The Vice President can be removed before completing his tenure by a resolution passed by the Rajya Sabha and supported by the Lok Sabha. Union Council of Ministers. According to the Constitution of India, there shall be a Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister to aid and advise the President in exercise of his/her functions. The Council of Ministers is responsible to the popularly elected lower house of the Parliament, that is, the Lok Sabha. The Council of Ministers comprises the Prime Minister, the Cabinet Minister, the Ministers of the State, and Deputy Ministers. The composition of the Council Ministers start with the appointment of the Prime Minister by the President of India. The other ministers are appointed afterwards by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. There is no fixed qualification for becoming a minister except that a minister must be a member of either house of the Parliament. In case of a non-member is made a minister, he/she can continue only for a maximum period of 6 months, or he/she has to secure a seat in either house of the Parliament within this period, failing which he/she shall cease to be a minister. This is the image of Parliament of India. Normally, the Prime Minister is the leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha. In case no single party gets a clear majority, the leader of 2 or more parties combined together for an alliance is called upon to become the Prime Minister. The government headed by such a Prime Minister is called the coalition government. The Council of Ministers work collectively as a team. All the ministers become equally responsible to defend their acts and decisions. So all the ministers swim and sing together. This is called collective responsibility. Functions of the Council of Ministers. The formation of internal and external policy of the country, taking decisions at the national and international levels to run the administration through various ministries like defense, finance, agriculture, foreign affairs, health, etc. It also performs certain legislative functions like preparing and approving the annual budget, making laws, etc. Functions of the Prime Minister. As head of the government, the Prime Minister enjoys real powers. Main powers of the Prime Minister are: first, formation of the Council of Ministers. Second, to preside over the meetings of the Cabinet as well as Council of Ministers. To coordinate the working of the various departments. As leader of Lok Sabha, the Prime Minister advises the President to summon or dissolve the Lok Sabha before its term expires. He/she advises the President on making important appointments like that of Chairman of the UPSC, Auditor General of India, Ambassador, etc. The Prime Minister is a very important link between the President and the Cabinet. As the leader of the party, his/her opinion carries maximum weight in taking all party decisions. His/her views on various political and economic issues are valued and respected. In a parliamentary form of government, the Prime Minister occupies the most important position and power. Do you know, the Cabinet and the Council of Ministers are not the same bodies. The Council comprises the Cabinet Ministers, Ministers of State, and Deputy Ministers, whereas the Cabinet consists of ministers who are influential and important members of the parties in power. Summing up, every government has 3 organs: legislature, executive, and judiciary. In order to run a government, we need a group of people called the executive. It comprises the President, the Prime Minister, and the Council of Ministers. The real executive is the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. All decisions are carried out in the name of the President. He/she must be kept informed of all the decisions of the Cabinet by the Prime Minister. The Vice President of India, Uprashtrapati, is elected for a period of 5 years by the members of both the houses of the Parliament. Thank you, class. Let's meet in the next chapter.